My daughter came her to buy a perfume, but they were closed at 6 o'clock. She arrived there at 6:03 o'clock, and she wanted to ask them if they have it. But they yelled at her. We are closed, and they didn't even come to the door to tell her that in a nice way. When I came there, after my daughter, at 6:04, I tried to just tell them, we need to know if you have this perfume, and we will be back later to buy it. But she came and told us we are close and refused to hear from us. A coworker invented a focus helmet for the office. It was a cardboard box with a small slit for his eyes, designed to block out all distractions. He wore it for an entire afternoon, feeling like a productivity god. However, he didn't realize that the boss had walked up behind him and stood there for 5 minutes, watching him type gibberish. When the boss tapped on the box, my coworker screamed, fell out of his chair, and got his head stuck in the helmet. He was given a warning about office decorum. My neighbor invented a smart mailbox that would text him when the mail arrived. His high-tech solution was a fishing line tied to the mailbox door, which ran through his window and was tied to a cowbell on his nightstand. Every time the mailman opened the box, the bell would slam into his head while he was napping. He claimed it was haptic feedback technology. The mailman eventually got tired of the resistance on the door and just started leaving the mail on the porch instead. My dad invented a no-mess tacos kit. It was a pair of surgical clamps mounted on a wooden base to hold the taco shell perfectly upright while you filled it. He thought he was a genius until he tried to actually eat the taco. Because the shell was clamped so tightly, the moment he took a bite, the entire thing shattered into 1,000,000 pieces like a glass window. He ended up eating a taco salad off the wooden base while grumbling about structural integrity issues in modern tortillas. A guy I knew invented a finger-licking good glove for eating wings. It was a rubber glove with sponges glued to the fingertips, soaked in ranch dressing. He thought he could just bite a wing and then suck on the glove for the extra sauce. It was the most disgusting thing I have ever seen in my life. Not only did it look horrific, but the sponges started dripping ranch all over his sleeves. He still insists that it's a game changer for the tailgating community. My aunt invented the non-slip ice shoes by gluing coarse grit sandpaper to the bottom of her winter boots. She was so confident that she marched right out onto the frozen driveway to show us. The sandpaper worked great for about 3 steps, but then the friction caused a tiny bit of ice to melt, which then refroze instantly into the grit of the paper. She ended up with 2 giant blocks of ice stuck to her feet, making her slip even worse. She had to be rescued with a hairdryer. I used to work in a bookstore. A woman came in one day and asked about the true story of The Lord of the Rings. I assumed she meant a biography of Tolkien or a book about how the movies were made. No. She was looking for history books about the Middle Ages, specifically something about the elves. She was especially interested in elves because her whole family was taller than her, and she thought she might have been descended from elves. I very politely explained that the books were fictional and set in Middle-earth, not the Middle Ages. I went on to explain that they were shelved in the fantasy section, as in, they weren't true, especially the part about elves, which don't exist and never have. She was visibly taken aback and started shaking. I swear I saw tears in her eyes as she left the store. I'm not sure if she was sad that the stories weren't true or because she wasn't an elf. That person drove to my store. Someone gave her a driver's license and a job and money. A customer came into our store complaining that the candle she had purchased had burned down, literally wanted her money back. I tried to explain that's kind of the thing with candles, and declined to refund her money. I once worked in the music department of an electronics store. A guy wanted to buy a certain CD, but wanted to listen to it first. I told him no problem. We had digital samples of each track from every album we sold. He said that wasn't good enough, as he wanted to listen to all the songs in their entirety before buying it. I told him that we couldn't open the packaging, and the only CD player we had was connected to the store's speakers. He then demanded we cue up the CD on those speakers, as if I was a DJ at his wedding or something. I politely declined, and he left, thankfully. When I worked in a call center for home phone service, I had a guy call and angrily ask why we were still charging him for his phone service, since he had unplugged his phone from the wall a month ago. He really didn't want to hear me explain that unplugging a phone doesn't magically cut off the service, and to do that, he'd need to make a phone call. So, yeah, that was interesting. A guy I worked with invented the ultimate privacy hoodie. He sewed a piece of thick black mesh over the entire face opening so he could see out, but nobody could see in. He thought it was perfect for taking naps at his desk. However, the mesh was so thick, he couldn't actually see anything. And he walked headfirst into a vending machine while trying to get a soda. He spent the rest of the day with a giant bruise on his forehead and a very bruised ego.